This is not a finance podcast. I know the name has the word money in it. Super eerie. The cover has the word wealth on it. Ew, like trigger words for many people. But I am a finance professional and I'm still telling you that this is not a finance podcast. So hopefully you'll believe me now that I'm saying it again, that this is not a finance podcast. Because finance podcasts teach you about like the numbers and like this is how I'm going to help you create wealth in like, 2 days. And like, this is what I need you to do so that you can gain $100,000 in the next 2 days. Like this show talks about your life. Like I'm not doing all of that. I'm not giving you hacks and tricks and getting you all hyped up. Like I'm going to get you all this money in the world where in all naturality, half that don't even work. And they just, finesse you for your money and hitting your struggle points where you really just need help and a space where you can just be yourself and have vulnerable conversations. Welcome to Master Your Fin Life. I am your host, Lexi Victoria. And today I want to tell you exactly what this show is, what it is not, and why that distinction matters more than you might think. Let me tell you what most financial content looks like. It starts with a number or a strategy or a rule. Save this percentage. Invest in this type of account. Follow this framework. Do these 5 things by 30. This is what I wish I would have told my 25-year-old self. This is what I learned in my 40s. And the information is often technically correct, right? Like they're not wrong, but something is missing, right? Like the person. Most financial content is built around an imaginary version of you, someone with a stable income, a predictable life, no complicated family history, no cultural context, no emotional relationship with money that was shaped by watching your parents struggle or your neighborhood go without. It assumes a clean starting point. And a lot of us never had a clean starting point. And not to say that those people did or didn't have these things going on, but it's not shared. Like the post or the information is being given with no context. So you listen to the advice and it sounds logical because it is, right? It's not wrong. And you still cannot make it stick. But then you wonder, what is wrong with you? Nothing is wrong with you. The content was not built for your actual life. It was built for a hypothetical person living in like this silo, and you are a real person living in the world. Those require different conversations. And not to say that those people are in silos, right? But the way that they are presenting the information makes it feel as if they're in this silo, right? Like they're these almighty financial guru people that have it all figured out. No, they are just as human as us and they are going through things just like us, but their content doesn't relate that. Maybe it's because they don't feel comfortable doing so, or, they don't want to share certain personal parts of them, which, I totally agree, like, I understand. But when you're providing financial advice in this way and you're looking to impact people's real lives, it's important to understand your responsibility to creating real conversations, and different conversations, and making it seem like this siloed conversation. So here's something I want you to really sit with. Money is not the whole story of your financial life. Your financial life is not only surrounded by money. Money is just paper. And that sounds strange coming from a financial professional, but like let me explain, because your relationship with money started before you earned a dollar. It started with what you watched as a kid, whether money was something that caused stress in your house or something that just never seemed to be there to begin with, whether the adults are around you talking about it openly or avoided the conversation entirely, right? Like specifically in my family, you don't talk about money, you don't talk about, the how much you make, you don't talk about none of that. Like mind your business, stay out of my business. It's none of your business how much money I make or, what I'm doing and how I'm doing it. So you were told that wanting more was greedy or that building wealth was possible for someone like you. All of that shapes how you think about money right now. So today, as an adult making real decisions with real consequences, no spreadsheet is going to fix those problems, right? Like me giving you a budgeting sheet isn't going to change all of those early money decisions that are currently impacting your financial future right now. No investment strategy works long term if your relationship with money is built on fear, scarcity, or shame. This is why the show exists where it does, at the intersection of money and identity and mindset in real life, because all of these things are working with each other and against each other. And because you cannot fully separate them, who you are shapes how you handle money, and how you handle money shapes the life you're able to build. And it all connects. So when you talk about money here, we talk about the whole picture, not just the numbers, the person holding them, or this quick hack and all of that, because you can get that elsewhere. There's people doing that already. So let me get specific about identity, because I think this word gets used loosely. And when I say identity, I mean the story you carry about who you are and what is possible for you. And that story has a direct line to your financial decisions. And here's what I mean. If you grow up being told directly or indirectly that wealth is for other people, that people from your neighborhood do not end up in certain rooms, that wanting too much is dangerous or embarrassing or unrealistic, that money is something you chase, not something you build, those messages become a part of your story and they show up in ways you may not even notice. They're subconsciously showing up in how you maneuver and in the decisions that you make. You undercharge for your work because deep down you do not believe that you're worth more. You do not negotiate because something in you says that is not for someone like me, or, I'm just blessed to be in the room. So let me just take what I can because, people like me don't make it there. You spend money as soon as you get it because holding it never felt safe to begin with. And you do not invest because the whole system feels like it was not designed for you. And honestly, historically, parts of it were not. And we talk about that in, other episodes regarding like women's history and women's relationship with money and with finances and with the bank. So these are not failures of discipline. These are responses to a story. And the only way to change the behavior long term is to examine the story. Where did it come from? Is it actually true? Does it still serve you? Or is it just like familiar, like a comfortability thing? And familiar and true are not the same thing. And a lot of people are living according to a story they inherited and never stopped to question. Like some people are exactly like their parents. For good, for worse, they are similar. They are exactly the same. And that is what this show is here to help with, not just what to do with your money, but who you believe you are in relation to it, because that belief is running the show. Whether you're aware of it or not, that belief is running the show. Who you believe you are in relation to is running the show. I want to address something. Some people hear a show like this and think the personal stories are the filler. Like the real content is the financial information. The stories are just to make it more entertaining. That's backwards. I'm not here to entertain you with my life. The stories are the content. Here's why. Information alone does not change behavior. If it did, everyone who knew they should save more money would. They would just save more. That's what we all know we need to do. We need to save. Everyone who knew they should start investing would start investing already. Everyone who knew their spending was a problem would have fixed it. Knowing is not the same as actually doing. I heard this quote that was like, we have more information that we have ever had at our fingertips, yet we have no knowledge. Like we have the information, but we're not retaining the information to actually know what it is trying to tell us. And the gap between knowing and doing is almost always emotional, right? Like, oh, I really, really want to do this, but stories close that gap. So when you hear someone describe an experience that sounds like yours, something shifts and you stop feeling like an exception. You stop feeling like the only one who struggled with this, right? We always talk about, oh, I was the only one I went through that. You start feeling like this is actually possible for someone like me, like you. That feeling is not soft. That feeling is the thing that makes the information usable and accessible and relatable. Research in behavioral science consistently shows that people make decisions based on emotion first and logic second. I have an episode on biases. We rationalize with data, but we move because of story. So every guest on the show, every personal moment I share, every time someone describes what it felt like to be in a hard financial season and come through it, that is not a filler. That is the mechanism. That is what makes this show work. I want to talk about who is missing from most financial conversations because it is a long list. First generation professionals who are building wealth without a model to follow. People who came from communities where the financial systems were actively working against them, not just indifferent to them, actively working against them. Women who are navigating money while also navigating pay gaps, career interruptions, and caregiving responsibilities affect their financial picture. Entrepreneurs and creatives and people in non traditional career paths who do not fit the standard salary plus benefits template, most financial advice is built around. People who have been through something, a job loss, a divorce, a financial mistake they are still recovering from, who need to hear that they are not disqualified from building something real. People who are making decent money but are still feeling behind and cannot figure out why the advice they keep hearing is not landing. These are not edge cases. These are a lot of people. These are not one offs. These are not uneducated people. These are not broke people. These are a lot of people. And the reason that they do not see themselves in most financial content is not because the content is bad, it's because the content was not written with them in the room. This show is written with you in the room. I'm from the Bronx. I'm a first generation. I'm a woman of color who has worked in professional spaces that were not always designed to include someone with my background. People still look at me with my credentials and like, what am I going to do with her? How is she an organizational fit? I understand what it means to be technically in the room, but not really in the conversation. NYFL is the conversation you have been in all along. Here's a reframe I want to offer you. Stop thinking about money as a destination. Start thinking about it as a tool that's going to get you to the destination. Money is not the goal of your life. It shouldn't be the goal of your life, right? Your life is the goal. And money is one of the primary tools that's going to make it possible. When you understand that distinction, the whole conversation changes. You stop optimizing for money in the abstract and you start making financial decisions and services of an actual life you are trying to build. What does that life look like? Not the Instagram version, not the version you think you're supposed to want or that your family wants for you, or your version. What does your morning look like when your finances are not a source of stress? What does your relationship with work look like when you have real options? What does your family life look like when you have been intentional about what you build? Those are design questions, not just financial questions. And when you know what you are designing toward, every financial decision gets a context. You are not just saving money, you are building towards something specific. You are not just paying off debt, you're clearing the path to something real. You're not just investing, you are building future options for yourself. That shift changes your relationship to the whole process because now there is a reason behind every move, and a reason makes it easier to stay consistent, even when it is hard. This show will always bring it back to the life, not just the money, because the money only matters in the context of the life it is supposed to support. I want to say something that does not show up in most financial content either. Confidence is a financial skill. Confidence is a financial skill, not confidence in the motivational poster sense, right? Like, I mean, the specific functional ability to advocate for yourself in financial situations, the ability to negotiate your salary instead of accepting the first number, the ability to walk away from a financial product you do not fully understand, confidence, the ability to ask questions in a room full of people who seem to already know the answer, confidence, the ability to say, this does not work for me and mean it, confidence, the ability to negotiate your salary instead of accepting the first number, confidence. That is a skill. And it has a direct impact on your financial outcomes. Think about how much money is lost every year because people do not negotiate. Research from Carnegie Mellon and other institutions has found that people who do not negotiate their starting salary can lose significant earning potential over the course of a career, right? Because if you get a standard 2% raise and you didn't negotiate your salary coming in, the 2% is significantly lower than what you could have been getting if you would have negotiated at a higher rate to begin with. And that's why many people feel like they have to jump and leave jobs. Or a lot of people jump and, oh, 3 years and I'm out, 2 years and I'm out because I need more money. But if we would have just assessed, if I can build with this company, what would it take for me to stay with this company so that I can build a long lasting career and do something that I'm not just passionate about, but something I like to do every day? So again, research from Carnegie Mellon and other institutions has found that people who do not negotiate their starting salary can lose significant earning potential over the course of a career. And that gap compounds because raises and bonuses are often calculated as a percentage of your base, right? I just spoke about that 2%. So the confidence to have that one conversation is worth real money, significant money over time. So think about how many people stay in financial products, accounts, insurance plans, loans that no longer serve their current life and their trajectory because advocating for change feels uncomfortable or confusing or like it is not, their place. Discomfort is not like a stop sign. It is just unfamiliarity that we're uncomfortable with. And the way you get comfortable is by practicing. Hey, that's why we're here, right? Having these conversations, and you have someone like me to even bring this to your thought process. And this show is a part of that practice, not just information, but a space where you hear real people talking about money in a real way until it starts to feel normal, until you start to feel like you belong in this conversation because you do. Let me talk about systems for a minute. There are financial systems that exist, structures and tools and pathways that help people build wealth over time. Retirement accounts, tax strategies, investment vehicles, estate planning, credit systems, business structures. And these systems exist, they're real and they are available. But here's the thing, if nobody in your life ever used them, nobody ever explained them to you, and a system nobody showed you might as well not exist because you do not know how to look for it. That is not a failure of intelligence, it is a failure of access. I grew up in a household where nobody had a financial advisor. Nobody talked about a Roth IRA. Nobody explained what equity meant or how to read a pay stub or why your credit score follows you everywhere. Nobody even spoke to me about college. Not because those things were not real, but because they were not part of the world that I was introduced to. When I finally got into professional spaces where people talked about these things like they were common knowledge, I had two choices: pretend I already knew or ask the question. I have done both, and asking the question was always the better choice because then I could be able to fuel the conversation in a way where I could comprehend it in a way that's applicable to not just my life, but my experience. So this show is a question made into a space, a place where you can learn the systems that were not handed to you without shame, without pretending, without feeling like you should have already known. You did not know because nobody told you. And now someone is telling you, and it is not too late to use it. So let me answer the question I started with. If this is not a finance podcast, then what is it? It is a life podcast that takes money seriously. It is a space where money gets talked about as a part of a whole life, not separate from it. It's a show for people who are ambitious and complex and carrying real history and trying to feel something real through all of that. It is a show where you will learn actual financial concepts and strategies backed by real sources explained in plain language. It is a show where you will hear real stories from real people, people who look and sound and come from places like yours, talking about what it actually took to build something. It is a show that does not pretend your identity and your culture and your history are irrelevant to your finances because they are not. They are a direct reflection of your finances. And it is a show hosted by someone who is a finance professional and also a real person who grew up in the Bronx, who has worked multiple jobs at once, who is a mother and a builder, and someone who is still figuring parts of this out alongside with you. It is a show that refuses to separate the money from the meaning because your finances are not a department of your life. They are woven through everything, the choices you make, the opportunities you take, the version of the future you are able to reach. All of it connects. And this is the place where we talk about all of it. If you have been looking for a finance podcast, you may need to adjust your expectations because what you are getting here is something bigger than that. You're going to get a real conversations about money and identity and purpose and the life you are actually trying to build. You're going to get information that is accurate and sourced and delivered in a way that respects your intelligence. You're going to get stories from people who have been in hard seasons and came through them and everything they learned along the way. You're going to get honesty, even when honesty is uncomfortable, and you're going to get a community of people who are on the same road, not a highlight reel, a real conversation. That is what Master Your Fin Life is. And I'm glad you are here for the ride. I am Lexi Victoria. I will see you next week.